Get Zac Jackson in here. Zac Jackson's brought to us by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections, and you're in the game. Download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 off after you play your first $5. Prize Picks, it's good to be right.
All right, here we go, Zach. Good to see you again. And are you with the Browns going to New England this week? Yesterday, Dustin said he thinks the Browns will cover. Are you buying what he's selling?
You know, for the Browns to be in it, it's got to be a low-scoring game.
Yeah.
Try to keep it within a touchdown, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see. You know, Drake May has been awesome.
Yeah.
He probably hasn't faced a defense like this.
True.
They have not given up much in the run game, the Patriots. So
Yep.
it just comes down to what the offense can give the Browns.
Are you shocked by Travion Henderson, his lack of usage?
I am
what do you think is happening there?
I think he's in the doghouse.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
and
weird.
not being there, I don't know why.
Yeah.
They said there's been some pass protection errors, and that's why you draft a guy like
yeah,
him,
yeah.
right? But I think Stevenson's played well.
Yeah.
I think they've had their games go a certain way. But yeah, I'm surprised because this guy's as NFL ready as could be.
It's weird.
It had a great preseason, and they drafted him in the top 40, but it just hasn't clicked so far.
It's your guy, Tyvis.
I know. It's shocking because he was so explosive in the preseason. And I feel like even Ramondre Stevenson, he fumbled the ball a couple of times. So
Didn't matter.
It's like all the scenarios for the backup to get more time, more reps has happened.
Yeah.
But yet they're not going to
Including the number 3 getting hurt.
Exactly.
Too.
Like I don't know
weird.
what it is.
No, leave him right on the sideline. I ain't got no time for him coming in and getting out of the doghouse on us. That's the way the Browns work. We haven't seen Travion Henderson 110 on 5 carries. No,
see that.
stay right
You
over
guys
there.
didn't tell me it was Jersey Day.
Yeah, it's Jersey Day. You know,
I looked
Yeah.
up into this. I interviewed Dean Everson, the head coach for the Jackets.
Okay.
And they gave me this jersey, so I just put it on.
And me, I didn't go to no Bananas games. I just like the Bananas. Pause. That was crazy.
That was very crazy.
That was.
Can
you cut that?
That's crazy.
I got a Mark Sanchez jersey to wear for Halloween.
Oh!
One
One-line king. One-line king. He came right back.
She wouldn't let me.
Oh, my God.
It's upstairs in the car if anybody wants to borrow.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's wild. I can't even think of a question now.
Oh, man.
So
Go ahead.
Let me ask you. So if Drake May is doing this well, so they got Stephon Diggs, but who is the person that you think this defense should key on to stop it? What's the key to success for the defense?
Drake May, it's what this defense does, right? It's get off the ball quickly and be disruptive and get them out of their flow. So Drake May does make plays on the run, right? Yeah. But you can't just let Ramondre Stevenson run right at you and make it 2nd and 5. Right, and I think they'll throw to the flats. They'll attack in a little bit of a way that most teams attack the Browns, with quick hitters, with misdirection. That's probably Diggs. That's probably Pop Douglas, who's a smaller guy. Keyshawn Boutte has played pretty well for them, more in the vertical. Hunter Henry's been catching 8-yard passes in this league for a long, long time. So it's just
Austin Hooper had a touchdown last week.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
I didn't even remember he was still in the
Well,
league.
think about this journey that
Yeah.
this has been. They come in
Yeah.
2020, and Stefanski wants to run a tight end-based offense,
Yep.
and they don't trust David Njoku because
Right.
he's been up and down.
Yeah.
This is 5 years ago.
Yes.
So they pay Austin Hooper all of this money
Yes.
to run to one place and turn around and catch it 60% of the time.
Fall down.
And fall down.
Yeah.
He spent a lot of time on the ground.
He
Before
did.
Cedric Tillman came around, nobody spent more time on the
Mine.
floor than Austin Hooper.
What is his status anyway? Cedric Tillman.
At least one more game, at least one more week.
And Mike Hall.
I watched him yesterday in the locker room, no brace or anything. I would imagine he'll be back after the bye.
And Hall, what are we
Same,
thinking about him?
Same. So,
Yeah.
they're just not answering questions on that.
Yeah, they don't give us anything.
It made sense if he was only going to miss 5 or 6 weeks and he needed to practice. Like, the injury did just happen in January, and he had 2 surgeries. But now that he's going to miss at least 7 games, you couldn't have done anything else with that roster spot.
Yeah.
Right? So,
It's weird.
that is weird.
Looking at it, I went back and watched the film. There's a couple of throws where Gabriel has a wheel route open to Jerome Ford. It's the play where Jerry Jeudy kind of collisions, and he's like, okay, that was a good one. Then on the goal line, you also have Quinshon Judkins, who was out there in the flat. If you just get it to him quick, he kind of sees him and then keeps seizing him, and then he runs for 4 yards. Is he seeing the field? I would say is he seeing the field well enough to take some of the shots downfield to kind of open this thing up?
I don't believe so. I think, when you look at Pittsburgh, obviously went really poorly. And then last week they didn't have to, and they immediately went in the mode of, cool, we're good.
Yeah, right.
We're going to get out of here, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good question. I think that one concern, you bring up good examples there, but the big concern is you would have thought in games 2 and 3 you would see little growth, and just early in the games how the offense would click. And that hasn't been there, right?
Yeah.
So it's good that they just ran it out last week. It's good that he hasn't turned the ball over, even though about 8 interceptions have been dropped. But they're going to need to throw it down the field. Now today, when they get on the practice field, that's not for about 3 more hours. But like Jerry Jeudy did not practice yesterday with a knee, and we know he's been bad. But imagine if he doesn't play. Imagine what that receiving core looks like.
Worst in league history.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So probably it's
that spread go up to 8.
It's probably we're in late October.
Yeah.
He's had 3 weeks of practice.
Yeah.
Let's rest him. We need him. We need, as bad as he's been, they need him. Capital need.
Oh yeah.
So ideally this week you're getting back Conklin. You're getting back Njoku, even if he's less than 100%.
Right.
And you're going to have everybody.
Yeah.
And you can do some of those things. And if you hit a couple early, it puts you in better positions. So to answer your question, I don't think they have to push. You would ideally like to, but I don't think they have to, because they're clearly not comfortable on it in any end. And Gabriel's not been good by any measure. But with these tackles and this receivers, you cannot come out and say that it's all on him.
I don't want no, and I definitely don't want 58. Give me, the entire has looked at the Pittsburgh field. Give me 2. Just even if you just put it on film, hey, they'll throw it up there. You got, but we'll see.
No, I agree with that philosophy of trying to get it there. There's different ways to go about it, and I think last week, had they not gotten up, had the pick 6 to start the second half not happen, I think you would have seen a play action deep shot just to put it on film.
Yeah.
But they get that lead.
Right.
They don't.
They run the wild dog. Just say, we're gonna get up out of here with this win.
Speaking of wide receiver,
and that was progress.
Yeah.
Because in London, the quarterback and the coach did not manage the game well in the second half.
I will give you that.
It was bad, but it was progress.
Yeah. Garrett Wilson. This seems silly to me. I can't imagine the Browns are trading high draft capital for a wide receiver, but people are talking about it. So, do you make anything of this?
So, name one other wide receiver on the New York Jets. Okay, exactly. They're worse than these guys.
Right.
So, if the Jets want to trade Garrett Wilson, the price is super, super high.
Yeah.
And you're going to extend him.
First round pick, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, of course, you're going to talk about it, but are you really going to meet that price right now?
I can't imagine.
When you have so many needs. I don't know.
Right.
I would be surprised.
I think there's a contender out there that should. Possibly.
Listen, I know this, and their actions have proven this. They're working the phones. They're in on trades.
Right.
Not just to be full sellers or whatever. They're looking at options. But that one becoming realistic, it just strikes me as very strange, because the Jets aren't going to trade Garrett Wilson for a 4th round pick because the Jets stink.
Right.
The Jets are going to trade Garrett Wilson if someone completely knocks their socks off.
Yeah.
The Jets are going to have a rookie quarterback next year who's going to need the support of Garrett Wilson.
Right. Exactly.
The Saints could trade us Chris Olave.
They could. And for the right price, that would be phenomenal. You have to worry about his concussion history.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to worry about his contract, but sure. Look, with all of these things, if the Browns aren't going to extend Alex Wright, the Browns should probably trade Alex Wright.
Yeah.
But if they are, you commit there, and you're going to have to make up the money somewhere else. Or he's there, and then in a year, you're probably not signing Isaiah McGuire. So all of these things are tied together.
Right.
For the right price, would the Browns trade Wyatt Teller? Yeah, but it has to be the right price, and then that moves it down to where this money's going. Teller, Njoku, and Bitonio all have big dead money numbers on next year's cap, and they're probably thinking even beyond that. But that's frustrating, because this defense is good enough to make you something right now. And look, if they just beat the Jets, even if they go to New England and lay an egg this week, that Baltimore game in a few weeks, there's still a season going on here. We're talking about the trade deadline. We're talking about the future. We're talking about the offense looking semi-competent.
Yeah.
But there's still, in this AFC North, there's still a season going on here.
Don't
look at me like that. You told them they're going to win 9 games.
He's making a face because he thinks you agree with him.
Listen, I said 2 days ago, and him and Dustin just, time is here.
But Zach did not say they're going to win. How many games?
I didn't say they was going to win. I just said it's there.
Yeah, there's a season going on.
And I agree with you. Dustin's the one who killed you. I just didn't think it's going to happen.
There is a season going on here. right?
Yeah.
There is.
And there's not. Yeah.
The team you play.
man.
Yeah.
You just tell it like it is.
The most talented team in the AFC North is in 4th place right now.
That's true.
The Cleveland Browns are awful and are not in 4th place.
That is crazy.
That's nasty
So,
work.
at what point, we talked about Dillon Gabriel, and obviously there's so many different components to him, but don't you still want to see Shador? Are you at the point where it's like, I've seen enough, like I want to see Shador, or do you still want to keep giving this thing?
I think after the Ravens game, I want to get in the mode of who I want to see and what
when
I
is the
wanna see.
Ravens?
It's the one
Right after the bye.
Mid-November.
Yeah.
Two
Okay.
games.
Two
They come out of the
games
game, they
after
go
the
Jets,
Jets,
and they play Baltimore here. I want to see this offense try to get better because it's got nowhere to go but up, right? I want to see. This is the first game all year they're going to have the same starting offensive line combination for a second game, right?
Wow.
Jack Conklin started last week?
Jack Conklin did not play last week, so
Oh.
he'll be back this week. So
but
they'll have the combination
he
from
came
2
back.
games.
Oh,
Not back to back.
Yeah, they're 7 for 7 right now. Is what I'm
Yeah.
right? So I want to
crazy.
see. I want to see after the bye if David Njoku's on this team, right?
Yeah.
I want to see if there is a scenario where they could find some receiver help, even if it's just a below-average veteran. He's got to be
right.
better than what they're trotting out there.
100%.
You know, can Jerry
100%.
Jeudy get out of this slump?
Are you?
That's
Right.
what I want. That's
Yeah.
what I want to see before I want to see Shador. But this is not an NFL offense right now. It's awful, and they scored 31 points last week because the defense did it for them.
Right. Absolutely.
Are you sold on what's the third tight end? Blake
Whiteheart?
Blake Whiteheart.
Did
Are
you
you
see him
sold
turn the
on
corner
him?
last
Lion
week?
Crest.
So you would be okay with trading David Njoku knowing that
Because you would be embracing the future, and you would be getting
rebuild.
something for a player who's probably no longer in your plans. Because David Njoku is going to want a lot of money. Already, is
For
gonna
what?
Well, it's cost you a lot of money because the dead money you've moved up, and Harold Fannin is the future at tight end.
Yeah.
And you're going to need a new one anyway because Harold Fannin is not a conventional tight end.
Yeah, he's
That's
more of
true.
a he's more of a gadget, not gadget, but
more
you
of
know,
a Jimmy
H-back.
Jimmy Graham.
Like
I want to play
move him
receiver.
around. I don't want him blocking. I want you catching and being in a mismatch.
Right,
Well,
right.
we-
And
we
they're
see-
doing a great job of moving him around.
Right.
But yes, they're never going to say for the next 10 plays, you need to block this guy and then
Yeah,
get out of
that's
here.
right.
That's
You see
not going
what
to be
they did
maximizing
against
him.
Pittsburgh? He was out there
Right,
at the
and
one.
the guy like that, the guy you
Yeah,
drafted in that
what?
role, he doesn't have to be, a guy you're paying a lot of money to.
that's right.
But
But
here's what I'm gonna say, Zach. Mikey asked us before this show. He said, "What do you think about the Garrett Wilson thing and the receivers?" And at first you're just like, "Nah, we're not gonna do that. We ain't racing no high draft capital and these." But I just don't have faith that they know what a good receiver look like. And I might as well take my chances in the trade market and get me somebody that's kind of developed, because I don't think they develop receivers. You got to take in consideration, whatever receiver they get, he ain't getting no better. I have he's a finished product. I don't like the receivers coach.
That's a
fair.
provable point. It's a
it
provable
is.
point.
You're right.
And he had the nerve the other week to say,
Yeah.
we like our receiver room again.
How is the
Who said that?
He said, I'm proud
wide
of the
receiver
guys."
coach.
The wide receiver coach.
Why
Say
has
that
he
again.
stayed here the whole time, Zach?
That-
Everybody else has been fired in the offensive staff. Why is the wide receiver coach?
Chad
doing this job?
O'Shea.
It's a hell of a question.
Yeah, right?
It's a hell of a question.
That is a weird one.
But back to,
He got some dirt on Kevin.
Here you
But
go.
what hangs over this whole thing, right? Like, who's going to be coaching these guys next year? What's it supposed to look like? They're at the stage of the season now where you got to make it look you got to get out, squeeze out. And there were a couple new wrinkles last week. They're throwing tunnel screens to
Yeah.
Malachi Corley.
And he
I
got a
want to see
pumped.
more of him, by the way.
Well, because look who's he's better than Jamar.
He was a third-round pick.
He's better than Isaiah Bond.
Yeah.
He's better than these guys.
Yeah, I mean, he was a
The wide
third-round pick
receiver
by the
development
Jets.
piece is huge. They came here, they had Jarvis and Odell,
Yeah.
and Odell quit the team. Jarvis was at the end of his career. They made a big trade for Amari Cooper. They ended up having to trade him off. They made a big trade for Jerry Jeudy and gave him this
Yeah.
money, and he is bottomed out.
Traded for
They drafted Anthony Schwartz. It was a complete bust, right?
David Bell.
Is gone.
Elijah
Yes.
Moore.
Elijah Moore. They traded down from the second to third round to get Elijah Moore.
Correct.
Is he even in the league?
Yeah, he plays
He's
for
on
the Bills.
Buffalo.
He's like their number
They
6.
drafted Mike Woods.
Forgot about
Yeah, right.
Mike
They
Woods.
Guys who have
Mike
never
Woods.
played.
These dudes don't even, they got jobs, man.
And
Yeah.
yet,
401ks.
I think they gotta have a conversation with Chad after this season. Like, there's no way that. there's no way.
Overall drafting.
Because like it's every year, whatever the thing has been the worst, like they've at least addressed it.
Yeah.
Now they'll come in and lie to us all season and tell us that
Yeah.
they good.
And you can't
But after
even-
the season's over, they at least address what it was.
And you can't even sit and say, well, Carnell Tate, Jacksonville's pick is the answer because you have so many needs. You don't know that.
If it wasn't for the blind spotted tackle in line, we would be okay. But you got tackle and receiver.
I think Harold Fannin and Quinshon Judkins are the two best offensive players that this group has acquired as of now.
Sure.
No, Amari Cooper.
Yeah, Amari Cooper.
No, right now on the current roster.
Yeah.
Which is
That's like
crazy.
saying it's Thursday.
That means in the past 5 years you've acquired nobody.
That's right.
That's
Or
crazy.
if you did and they were any good, they're now gone.
To get to this point with your
Yeah.
skill group, some
Yeah.
things have gone severely wrong.
Yeah.
And then you match that with an offensive line group that starts 5 guys who aren't under contract,
Right.
and at least 3.5 guys who are past their prime.
And Wyatt Teller wasn't Wyatt Teller acquired by Dorsey?
By Dorsey in a trade in August of 2008.
Right.
So, if with all that being said, do you see a world where they keep Kevin and move on from AB, or do you think they just
I don't think they're necessarily tied together, Tyvis.
Okay.
I think that's better explored in a month here, in
Yeah.
6 weeks, but I don't think they're necessarily tied together. Because it's not a fair world, and it's not judged on one thing.
you could stop saying that.
I
didn't say they was tied to him.
I think logically, if you say that we're moving on, that this just didn't work, and even though we extended these guys 18 months ago, it's time to move on. I think they both go. But we're talking about we got to watch this offense, we got to watch this quarterbacks. We haven't developed any wide receivers in that stadium. Optically, what it's going to look like when Buffalo fans and Pittsburgh fans are here, and what that offense looks like.
Yeah.
That is what's going to drive.
Right. I know this
decision. If they lose on Sunday, they're 2-6 for the second year in a row. They're the bottom 5 in every single offensive category for the second year in a row.
Right.
Right. So
That's a shame.
Yeah, I don't listen. If they finish with 3-4 wins, you can't bring back the coach. To me, especially because if you do draft a quarterback in the first round, and then if they get off to a bad start, then they are going to fire him the following year, and now you have a rookie quarterback who has 2 coaches in 2 years, which is a disaster.
And there's also a world here where the offense continues to stink, but you beat the Jets, you beat the Raiders,
right?
You upset the Niners, who are down
don't have a
30 guys, and now you've won games,
right.
And now you're picking like 12th and 16th.
Yeah.
But you've had some momentum.
Right.
I think this, and this easy to say on this week, this right now, like Jim Schwartz is the best thing that this organization has done because this is his defense.
Yes.
Right. And he's not
100%.
picking all the players, but Malik Collins fits his defense.
Yes.
Myles Garrett can fit any defense, but they've done a pretty good job of getting around. Grant Delpit's having his best season.
He really is.
Right. Like Rayshon Jenkins, 4th-tier free agent. He's playing.
Rayshon Jenkins. I said, who's this 5?
Alex Wright looks like he's finally reaching his promise there.
Right. So that's what you have to decide is who's going to be here. The Tyson Campbell move indicates that they think Jim Schwartz is going to be here.
Yeah.
Signing Malik Collins at 30 years old on a team that's tanking or semi-tanking for 2 years, like that says they think he's going to be here.
Yeah.
So
would Jim Schwartz?
Maybe he is.
I mean, we're looking. I don't know. Who knows? But would if they fired Stefanski,
good question,
and didn't hire Schwartz to be the head coach, would he stay as DC? You think?
I mean, that would be up to the new head coach, and it'd be up to him.
Right. But do you think he would if they wanted him to? Do you think he would?
I don't
know.
know. Yeah.
And let me ask you a question, because this goes back a little bit with the whole Greg Williams thing, right? Remember when Greg Williams got the interim job and he got an interview, but it was this foregone conclusion that they would not let him be head coach. Why is it the thought process that Jim Schwartz would never get another head coaching job, or why he wouldn't be a guy? Is it because he's a defensive guy and they want?
Yeah, I don't think it's the same as Greg. I think people just considered Greg toxic. He doesn't work in the league net right now. I don't know that that's. I think that Jim probably has not got more interviews because he's not a young offensive guy. That's who's gotten the bulk of the interviews.
Yeah.
So will he? If this defense balls out like this the rest of the year, will he? Would he be a candidate here? Somewhere else? Does that?
Yeah.
I don't know, and he's never going to give us an answer in front of the microphone. But I don't think that he's like just not a candidate. I think he's not been.
You're one of the first people that I heard say, like, I don't. We'll see, but I don't think he's in that ilk, because a lot of people foregone conclusion that they just wouldn't even look at him.
Yeah.
Bull won't.
Well, Zach's right. That the offensive coach, the young offensive coach, is the odd thing. I like Brian Flores. Yes, I think
that's not true because what's the coach that just went to Atlanta? Raheem Morris. He's a defensive-minded guy.
Yeah.
He's not saying it never happens. He's
I'm not saying
for
it
the
never
majority.
happened. Right. I'm just saying that's
No,
not
listen.
the
Over the last couple of weeks, I've gotten my coach and GM. Like I went back and look who's interviewed the last 2 years in other places.
Yeah.
All offensive
It's
guys.
mostly offensive.
Yeah,
guys.
right.
Yeah.
Right. I can't believe we have to ask this question, but I will ask it anyway because I think Grossi asked it in the press conference. Is there anything to this Shador not getting first-team reps?
I think it's a little bit strange.
Yeah.
You know?
You do think it? So you think
Yeah,
it is?
I mean,
okay.
the guy's
All right.
one turned ankle from, or
Yeah.
one concussion check from upstairs. Drake May had to leave the game for 2 plays last week because the upstairs they thought he had a concussion. So
Right.
how could he not get 1 rep during the week? Now, just because that's the
Yeah.
answer doesn't mean that's what's happening, but that struck me.
So you weren't buying what he was saying about, well, Dillon did because Flacco.
No, I buy that. I buy that he's
Yes.
telling mostly the truth there. It
Yeah.
strikes me as strange that your backup quarterback wouldn't get 3 plays over the course. You've been in a lot of football practices, getting ready for games. At some point, the backup's supposed to get some reps, right?
About 1 or 2. You know what? How a lot of teams did it was, so you do your entire practice, and then at the end you finish with a competition period, and it's usually 1s-on-1s or 2s-on-2s and stuff like
Right.
that. And those are the periods where, like, even for me as a young guy, like Cam be like, you know what, go ahead and take my reps for me. I don't need these. Go do these.
So you got to take first-team reps.
So like you would see some young
right,
guys
but Dillon
go in
Gabriel's
there.
not going to say that to Shador. He's a
True,
rookie,
but
too.
like that would be the moment because
Right.
it's like 3 plays. It's like, all right, we're gonna play
I
for
got
a
you.
first down. We're gonna
Yeah,
do
yeah,
3
yeah.
plays. Like, okay, because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's at the end of the thing.
Just to be scripted in for one situation. And they are very like situationally sound.
Yeah.
Like they go over every detail or try to. So that struck me as like a real answer. I thought it was a great question, and I thought it
Okay.
was, I wasn't running to make it the headline of the week on the
Right,
Athletic
right.
or anything, but I thought that was pretty interesting.
All right.
Listen, I always tell people like this, man. If he goes into, if Dillon Gabriel gets hurt, he better be ready to go.
That's right.
The way he acted,
that's the
he better
mentality.
be.
That's the mentality he got to have, and the mentality is, hey, it's my opportunity. You know how? Listen, I'm sure Tom Brady, when he came in for Drew Bledsoe, didn't think he was coming out.
Yeah.
So yeah, be ready and let's go. It could be working where you get the reps, you don't get the reps, but you're 2 seconds away from playing. So when you get in, let's take
And much what you
capitalize.
just said, like the minute they traded Flacco, like Shador should have taken 5 minutes to process it, and then like this is my chance. The carrot
Yep.
is dangling right in front of me.
Let's
I'm
go.
not at the back of the line anymore. Like
Yeah.
I have to be ready.
There is no way that he's sitting there watching how this offense is playing and thinking to himself that I won't get an opportunity. Like
Well, sure.
he would be fooling himself if
Yeah.
he thought. Like if Dillon was out there threading the thing, throwing 3 touchdowns a game, all right, they might got their guy. But the way that this thing is going, he better be ready to go.
Have you noticed so people made a thing about being a third team and a second team quarterback. What I thought was cool was I saw a little bit of change in the way he started answering questions when he was a second team quarterback. Have you seen more of a level of, okay, I'm gonna put my nose down and get
That's
to
the
it?
only interview he's done, so I don't know. And in the season, we were allowed to watch stretching, and that's it. And on Fridays, they don't even let us in until the stretching is over. So we go out, and I wander down to see who's running the offensive line drills, and then they start throwing passes,
ridiculous.
and like they're through one drill, and then we're out. So
Is
we
that
don't
a
see
Browns
it.
decision or is that an NFL thing?
It's across the league. Now, I think they probably you don't get shut out of stretching,
Yeah.
in other places, but yeah. Everybody's only watching the individual. We watch every minute of camp, and that's why it's so important to get a feel for who's
Right,
who
right,
and what's
yeah.
what.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
once the season starts, or before, as soon as camp ends,
Right.
we
That's it.
get 15 minutes of viewing. That's it.
Did that change with COVID? Or
No, that's
it's always been.
It's always been that way. Yeah.
I think that stinks.
I mean, listen, we done had a bunch of gambling stuff. You don't want nobody being like, guess what I saw in practice today.
Yeah, I guess.
Not saying that
but
they
that's
would
not
do
the
that.
reason they're doing
I'm
it.
just
They
saying.
probably can't do it. They probably can't gamble. Y'all can't gamble, can you?
By my company, no.
See?
But like somebody who just covers the Browns for, you
Right.
can.
Jeff Shadell could probably do it.
See, here we go. Listen, this is why you putting names out there.
I can't do it.
Under
I
no
don't say he's gambling, I'm saying he probably could.
under no circumstances will we have names being
Yeah.
mentioned.
Anyway. All right, Zach. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.